Welcome to episode 2 of Project Pantry, where we're doing a little food prep and a little meal prep for the week. The idea is to go through the cupboards and make sure we're prioritizing the ingredients we already have, or have been in there a little while that we may have been avoiding or simply forgot to use, and we'll build a plan from there. This week I decided to make a few meals based on a bag of Vital Wheat gluten I had, a jar of chia seeds, a can of pumpkin, some half-open bags of beans, and a few cans of tomatoes. I made a big salad with a side of chickpeas, 2 salad dressings to choose from, some Italian marinated tofu using up a bottle of wine that's been sitting in the fridge for far too long, a tofu and cauliflower curry, some apple and blackberry overnight oats, a tomato, bean and rice soup, and a curry pumpkin soup as well. Oh, and I finally tried making some vegan deli slices with that gluten flour. As always, there will be chapters, so feel free to move around, and don't forget to subscribe so that you never miss another episode, and hit that like button if you like the video, as it really helps to support my channel. Okay, grab a cup of tea and let's get into it. Okay, so I think I've done pretty much everything that I can to prepare for meal prepping tomorrow. I've soaked the navy beans and the chickpeas. I've also pressed 2 blocks of tofu. These are for the Rainbow Plant Life recipe. I'll link it in the description. It's just a vegan veg tofu curry. I'm going to put those 2 tofu blocks in the freezer, because you need to freeze them and then thaw them. So I just pre-pressed them so most of the water is out. I think that's pretty much it. In the morning I will start with the beans and the chickpeas, and I'm going to use my Instant Pot because it's much quicker. But I'm actually going to write down a kind of time schedule for it, because I can get very easily distracted, and having a little time schedule can make things so much easier to stick to, and just also not waste a lot of time. I also like to write a time schedule so that I can understand if things need to go on the oven or when the oven needs to be used, and then I can kind of clump those things together just to make it a little bit more efficient. And as we're still got hot temperatures, I don't want to be using the oven when I don't need to be. I've tried to mix things up a little bit this week with the food prep, because I'm worried that my food preps are just getting boring. And if they're getting boring for me, then they're probably getting boring for you as well. I don't know if any of you have been following me since I started learning to cook during the pandemic, but I definitely found baking in particular very therapeutic. I like the whole process of finding the recipes that I want, writing down all the ingredients, prepping for everything. The only thing I don't like is actual ingredients shopping. But one of my favorite things to do is to put on a book whilst I am meal prepping, and just kind of like really get absorbed by the book whilst I'm doing some of the stuff, because some of the stuff is boring, but I do find it is just so immensely helpful, especially with this Project Pantry, that it's totally worth it. I've said many times over that this year I'm really trying to prioritize my mental and physical well-being, and my food preps kind of try to help set me up really well for the week. So I'm trying my best to cover the kind of physical aspect, but I'm also still going to therapy, and so I just want to take a little bit of time to talk to you about today's sponsor, Grow Therapy. I think therapy should be easy to access, and for everyone to be able to find a therapist that they truly click with, because identity and representation is really important in care, so that we can all get the support that we really need. These are just a few things that Grow Therapy stand for. They have an easy-to-use platform to help you with search filters for insurance, identity, and speciality. They're covered by 50+ insurance plans, including Medicaid in select states, and there are both virtual and in-person options. There are no subscriptions or commitments. You pay per session, and they have thousands of licensed, diverse providers to choose from. I know therapy can still feel a little bit like a taboo subject, which is why I've been very open about my mental health journey this year, both on YouTube and on Instagram, because it can be life-changing. So if you would like to learn more about Grow Therapy, you can check out the link in the description, and hopefully you'll be able to find someone that can support you in your goals or your general mental health, or if there's something in particular that you're going through, which I hope not. I hope you're all doing very well. Okay, I'll see you in the morning to get started with some of the simpler recipes, like the Green Goddess sauce, which is a kind of take on the Trader Joe's one, and then also the preserved lemon vinaigrette, which I'm very excited about. Those preserved lemons have been waiting for me to use them. Earlier in the year, I meal prepped some preserved lemons, and they've just been sitting in the fridge waiting for me to use. So the second thing I'm going to make is a preserved lemon vinaigrette. This is from the Rainbow Plant Life Big Vegan Flavor Cookbook. It's a very simple vinaigrette and I'm very excited to see how this turns out. So I'm going to use a whole one of these, and these were Maya lemons. So I decided to go for something that would be just a little bit sweeter and tasted just a little bit different from your normal lemons. So I'll be interested to see how that influences the flavour for this vinaigrette.
Are you on my mind? It's not like I can leave it unspoken. All that I found was so good. You are love in this, I know.
When it comes to meal prep, I always like to start with the things that I feel would go quite quickly. After I cook the chickpeas in the Instant Pot, I let them cool down and then I poured over some olive oil and a bunch of different spices. I always go for the ones that I like the most, like garlic, onion, oregano, some cayenne pepper, some chili flakes, things like that, but you can put on whatever you like. I baked them in the oven at about 425 for half an hour, and then after they cooled down I just put them in an airtight container and put them in the fridge. I then moved on to my Italian marinated tofu. This is a recipe I got from the Veganomicon cookbook again. I'm trying a lot of different recipes in there because I just feel like I haven't picked that book up and it's just a waste sitting on my shelf. But this was a good one because it used up some of the white wine that I had in my fridge that really needed to be used. I'll be very interested to see how this one tastes, but it has very simple ingredients like balsamic vinegar, soy sauce, lemon juice, olive oil, some Italian seasoning and some white wine. The next thing I decided to make was a quinoa salad. I had some vegetable stock that needed using and I had a massive bag of quinoa in the cupboard that I honestly had forgotten about. I definitely started to make a lot more quinoa salads during the summer because it was just an easy way to eat more vegetables, to get some good fibre in and some protein. But that meant that I had this big bag that really needed to be used. I also had some cherry tomatoes, some chocolate cherries and some sungolds that I was growing in the garden. So I thought this would be a perfect opportunity to make just a really nice, healthy, well-rounded salad that could go with the vinaigrette and the other dressing that I made earlier, as well as with the tofu and with the chickpeas. Whenever I'm meal prepping something, I always try to think about what I can put these things with, especially if you don't like to have one meal or the same meal all the time. Having different elements that you can put together in different ways is such a good way to do this, and it helps just to give a little bit of variety. I then moved on to a roasted garlic, tomato, brown rice and bean soup. This is very similar to a Rainbow Plant Life soup that I had made before, which has beans and you kind of bake it in the oven for a while. But this is a much simpler and budget version of that recipe, I think. And I found this again in the Veganomicon book. I made a banana bread the other day, so I'm just having a slice because if I don't have a snack whilst I'm meal prepping, I basically end up eating a lot of the food that I'm supposed to be meal prepping for the days ahead. I actually, once I was making this, thought that it tasted just a little bit bland, to be honest, so I added in some roasted garlic vegetable stock, and then once I had actually cooked everything down for about 45 minutes, I added some fresh parsley with the beans. I'd say that this is a very simple but filling and budget-friendly recipe. If you want to make things a little bit more exciting, you can always add some extra vegetables in when you're cooking them at the beginning, add a little extra olive oil, or put some vegan parmesan or something on top afterwards. But this is something that I'll put in the freezer for those days when I just really need something easy and quick, or just a really hearty meal that I can have with some fresh sourdough that I'll make. I've been messing around and playing with different ways to make seitan this year or over the last couple of months, but I've really been meaning to make the Sarah's Vegan Kitchen deli slices. She mixes in tofu with a bunch of seasoning as well as the vital wheat gluten. So this is definitely a recipe, or I haven't really made any similar recipes to this, so I thought this would be really interesting. The recipe is very straightforward and really simple to make. I tried my best to seal it properly, but it did split open just a little bit, but after I let it cool down, then it kind of shrunk back into the size that it was supposed to be. She says that you need to wait till the next day, but I really just couldn't help myself. I needed to try it to see what it tasted like. And honestly, I was pretty blown away. I then moved on to make some of my favourite overnight oats, which is apple and blackberry. This time of year, I love the fact that so many things like blackberries are in season. When I was just in the UK visiting my family, I went blackberry picking and there were so many that were just perfectly ripe. These overnight oats are incredibly simple and I just throw together basically whatever I have in the cupboard, using up those chia seeds that I have, using up some oats that I wanted to use, some vegan yogurt, some soy milk and my mixture. Okay, so I'm gonna make a really simple tofu curry. It's the veg tofu curry from Rainbow Plant Life on her website. I'll link it down below, but it's very easy to find. I pressed this tofu yesterday, froze it, and then thawed it, so it's now ready to go. This is what the instructions say to do. And this morning, I was able to harvest some serrano peppers from the garden, which is so exciting. My serrano peppers are definitely a little bit small, but I did allow a caterpillar to come through many times and eat quite a few of those leaves. But it is so exciting to be able to use something from the garden. This year my chilies have done so much better, which is really exciting. And yes, they're small, but there are obviously quite a lot of them. I also realized that we used up all the curry leaves that we had in the freezer the last time that we made this recipe, so instead I'm just going to use some curry powder. Obviously absolutely not the same, but it's the only kind of substitute that I can think of. But you know, it's a good thing. We had so many curry leaves in the freezer and it's really great that we've used them all up. At the end of this video, I'll also show you some of the empties that we have had from being able to use up stuff that's in the cupboard. But let's get started with this. It's really simple. I've basically got everything ready. I just need to start cooking. Okay, for the last recipe, I am finally using this can of pumpkin. And you might be surprised that I'm making like a curry pumpkin soup, but I find pumpkin to be quite sweet, but I literally just made a banana bread, and so I kind of don't want to make anything sweet like a pumpkin bread or something like that. Although pumpkin bread does sound really good, so I'm gonna put that on my list for next time, just in case this ever happens to be in my pantry again. But I really like a soup, especially as the evenings are just starting to get a little bit cooler, just slightly. But I'm probably gonna make this and put this in the freezer so that it's ready for like a week or 2 weeks time. But yeah, this is a very, very simple recipe. I think I found it on like the Food Network, but nothing special, very simple. Sometimes with soups, I like to make them, put them in the freezer, and then as I'm warming them up, sometimes I'll put like half a block of tofu in them, and that will warm up and then I'll eat it like that just to add a bit of protein. I quite like that. You might think that's disgusting, but I'm interested to see what this tastes like, so let's get this going. So for this recipe, it's very simple. It's basically an onion and some garlic, and I think I just saute everything in a pan, add all the ingredients, let it cook for a little bit, and then it's pretty much done. So nothing particularly special, and that's pretty much it. Okay, so a couple of the empty things. We finished all our turmeric and all of our cumin seeds. I also finally finished that pumpkin puree in a tin. That's just gonna cool down and then I'm gonna put it in the freezer, but it's just like a very chill, very standard soup. Nothing special, but I think if you add a bunch of different toppings like fresh coriander and some pumpkin seeds, then it would kind of elevate it a little bit. Thank you for all your suggestions in my previous video or the first episode of Project Pantry about what to do with molasses. I honestly didn't realize that there were so many uses for it, so thank you for that. If you're enjoying this Project Pantry series, then please let me know in the comments below and give this video a like if you do like it, of course, and subscribe because I have quite a few more episodes coming on this Project Pantry, which is very exciting. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. The next video I have is actually talking about my kind of adult autumn curriculum. I've been seeing this all over social media and I think it's such a wonderful idea, and I have already kind of started a little art class, but I am going to be building out a proper syllabus for the next 4 months, which yeah, I'm quite excited. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time. Okay, bye.